A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this LinkedIn live session. And we've got a very, very interesting panel lined up. We're doing a panel discussion for the first time on Simply with Suparnaa on this session, essentially because the timeline that we are in, 28th of May, is the Menstrual Hygiene Day. And as a build up to that, I think it was only fair that we talk about menstruation. We should be talking about it all throughout the year, but definitely around the Menstrual Hygiene Day. Before I start, as is customary, I would like to pay my obeisance to the higher power. For me, it is Shakti, and it has held me in good stead. Whoever it is, the higher power that you believe in, please join in. It's an old Sanskrit verse. It is talking about goddess Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, and requesting her to dispel the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom of knowledge. Ya kundendu tushar har dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, या ब्रह्मचित्त शंकर प्रभूतिभि देवै सदा वंदिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निशेष जाड्यपहा. So we've got a very illustrious panel here with us today, and I'm going to introduce them one by one, of course. All of them have dedicated a major part of their lives um, to uh, to uh, to something very important that a lot of us don't even pay attention to, which is essentially living a waste-free life, living a life which we can create in such a way that our future generations can inherit a thriving planet due to the choices that we make today. And without much further ado, I would want to introduce our panelists here. Of course, there is Malini, who is my very, very dear friend, and we went to school together. And she has been an inspiring force in my life. She was the woman who gave me my first menstrual cup. Just this is almost over a decade back. And after using it for a couple of years, I realized I had no clue that something like this existed and how it has actually, helped me completely transition from an only plastic waste generation kind of a lifestyle to a zero waste as far as sanitary pads are concerned. So, menstrual cups, definitely we're going to talk about the very fact that people don't even know about it. Even if they know about it, they don't want to use it. We'll get to all of that. But before we do, I want to introduce the rest of the panelists. Malini, of course, is somebody who's an alumni of IIM Kolkata, Delhi College of Engineering. She has over 17 years of experience in the global IT industry, and she has hopped across 25 countries and finally decided to come back to our own India, where she is working relentlessly to create zero waste, as her tagline also says, zero waste future or zero waste societies, zero waste communities. That's her dream. Also, she's a social entrepreneur. She co-founded the Stone Soup, and she's also instrumental in helping me get connected to the community. Thank you so much, Malini, for joining us today and doing the good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Our next panelist, of course, is Dr. Meenakshi Bharat. We had to have a medical practitioner here as part of the panel because she is qualified to dispel all the myths that kind of prevail the society in terms of transitioning over to sustainable menstrual products. So we'll get to the basics with Dr. Meenakshi. But something very interesting that I found in her profile was that she actually has conducted her children's wedding, which was completely waste-free. Is that true, Dr. Meenakshi? I think Dr. Meenakshi needs to...
Yes.
2 weddings and more. We have done completely zero waste. And it's not difficult at all. Just that you need to do some prior planning, like we all plan our blouse pieces that have to be stitched. we have to do a little bit of extra planning when the menu is set, and you can have an absolutely waste-free wedding.
Super. I think you created a prototype that people can actually imitate in their weddings. My daughter hopefully will get married the next few years. I will take some pointers from you. So, Dr.
Absolutely.
Meenakshi, of course, has been a gynecologist for 35 years. She's been a fertility expert, and her medical practice consisted of making it easy for couples to undergo treatment to have children. And she has also dedicated her life to create zero waste communities. So, we'll get to know all the details about periods and why are people so afraid of talking about periods. We'll go on to Sashi Rajamani. Sashi, thank you so much for taking the time for being here. Sashi is a part of a very interesting group. It's called a Social Venture Partners Group, and she's spearheading that in Bengaluru. She's had, of course, 2 decades of experience in corporates. She now utilizes the social ventures and foundations she's associated with in providing their mentorship and providing even funds. She's a managing trustee of Conroy Foundation, and I hope I pronounced that correct, but you can always tell me if that's not right. And you're also working with over 20 NGOs in your personal capacity and also managing Sarani, a platform for promoting performing arts. Thank you so much, Sashi, for taking the time for being with us here today. We are going to get to know you a little more and also what SVP does and what it has been doing and what the future is in case anybody wants to align with you. And last, but like they say, definitely not the least, Dr. Shanti Thumala has just joined us running from a stage where she was doing what she does best. Well, she's been trained to be a dentist, but she quit her job and she has actually dedicated her time and her energies and now, of course, her expertise to creating, again, zero waste communities. She reached out to the Telangana government and spearheaded the Swachh Siddipet campaign to streamline waste segregation, collection, transportation, and disposal of all streams of waste. So here we have these very, very wise women who have got their hands pretty much dirty in doing the kind of stuff that they do. And I'm very, very glad that I've had the opportunity to interact with such wise women. And as promised, let's start with Dr. Meenakshi Bharat, who is a role model in herself. 2 weddings waste free. Wow. I mean, I have a lot to learn from her, but let's start from the basics. Why are periods important? Or if they are important, why don't people talk about it, Dr. Meenakshi?
Okay, somewhere down the line, periods has got a bad name, but that's not because periods are bad. That is because the disposable sanitary napkins that are there, collect the blood from inside the uterus through the vagina, and as it comes down, it collects the bacteria from the vagina, and then this becomes a wonderful petri dish in which the bacteria grows on the blood, and the pads become stinky because the bacteria is producing stinky gases. That's all. Now, because that happened over the last 60, 80 years, this has given it a bad name. Otherwise, periods was not bad. There's nothing bad about it. It's a regular hormonal cycle that makes the lining of the uterus grow and makes it ready to receive a fertilized egg. And when a fertilized egg doesn't happen because we have 400 periods, then the lining comes down, sheds, and as it comes down and outside. That is all that it is. It's a regular phenomena. It's like, the mustache and the beard grows every day, and we don't call men, yucky people because they're having a beard or because they haven't shaved. The same way, we should respect women when they have their periods. One, because the periods The hormones that make the period make the woman beautiful. We want to be beautiful, but we don't want our periods. How can that be possible? So, one is the hormones are necessary, cyclical, and it comes and produces those periods. That's about all that it is.
So, Dr.
It's just
Meenakshi, what I'm hearing from you is that if we women would not have periods, uh, it's safe to say we wouldn't have the world around us. I mean, where would all the people be?
absolutely the beauty would be gone from a woman. So, therefore, we have to tell our children, if you want beauty, you need your periods too, because that is a manifestation of the hormones that are being produced by the woman. Remember, we are telling now that women are protected from heart attacks
Wow.
when they are getting their periods prior to menopause. Only after menopause do we become similar to men, and the propensity for the heart attack becomes equal.
So, Dr. Meenakshi, tell me one thing. The periods that we get, is the blood the same as what the blood is in anybody's veins that's flowing, or is it toxic? And that's the reason why women should be avoided and they should not be touched and they can't touch pickles and XYZ?
No, no, it is more or less the same, but there is a lining of the uterus that is there, which is mucosa, which is shed along with the blood. But like I said, because the vagina has lots of bacteria, it collects the bacteria, and the bacteria makes it stink. That's all. You are a user of the menstrual cup, and I'm sure you transited from a stinky period to a non-stinky period, because
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
menstrual
And
cup,
is it okay for me to pray when I'm having my periods?
of course it is. God gave us the periods. God did not say don't go to the temple. It's human beings who have said don't go to the temple. It's human beings who have said don't touch the pickle. I don't think it makes a difference.
Yeah. So what my experience has been. Yes, Malini, we'll bring you into the picture. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So, there is a whole debate about traditional Indian practices and the new age wisdom. So, there is good and bad in both. Because in the new age practices, when it was brought to schools, you had doctors talking about it who talked about. So, when a doctor is talking about, even if the doctor is as funny as Dr. Meenakshi Bharat, you think there's something wrong. It's a disease, that's why the doctor has come to talk about it. And the period dialogue has become about the pain and the disease. And if you have a pain, this is the tablet to take, this is the wound, and there is the blood, and then this is the bandage to manage it. Similarly, traditional practices, there were some good, there were some bad, but they were evolved. So women didn't get opportunity to take a break. It was a time to give women a break. If I look at it in my own house, I find my meditation is the most amazing during the periods. My elder daughter, who's an athlete, doesn't want to take a break during periods because it ensures that she doesn't get period pain. But my youngest one, who has one foot in the air all the time, for those, especially the first day, she wants to just lie in the bed and take rest. So there was some maybe truth. It's about different body types. Why can't we just find out for ourselves? Take all the information, old,
Sure.
new, and see
Sure.
what
I think
works for us.
I think what is important in the age old wisdom is that you allow each one to be the way they are. If you want to take a break, it is fine. I see a lot of sanitary pad marketing companies essentially talk about how you can go horse riding XYZ, and I'm like, why, if somebody is having a period pain, what's the why do we have to push her to go horse riding? She can equally probably stay at home and take a couple of days off and rest it out. It doesn't really kind of matter. And for that matter, I think Dr. Meenakshi would be able to probably endorse this or call me out. Essentially, also, if there is something which is happening inside your body, and if, for example, our grandmothers used to tell us कि अगर पेट में दर्द है तो जो गैस बनाती हैं चीजें, जैसे कि राजमा है या चने हैं या छोले, तो उसको मत खाओ फॉर अ कपल ऑफ डेज, या बहुत स्पाइसी खाना मत खाओ फॉर अ कपल ऑफ डेज. सो मे बी दैट होल थिंग ऑफ not to eat probably अचार which is spicy or something like that, जिसको अवॉइड करना है, जिसको कॉन्व्यूलेट होके अब ये हो गया कि भैया आप अचार को हाथ लगाएंगी तो खराब हो जाएगा. I
Correct.
guess that's what it is. I want to bring into the conversation Shanti at this point in time. Also, I feel that we belong to such rich cultural heritage, right? Where women are actually prayed to as goddesses. लेकिन द फर्स्ट दिस थिंग इंस्टेंट जैसे आता है कि जब पीरियड की बात आती है तो इमीडिएटली वो औरत जो गॉडेस थी सडनली वो अनटचेबल बन जाती है. what do you think, why something like this happens?
So that is actually taught from generations that a woman in period should not be touched. So I mean, they say there is a scientific reason that there are electrons moving around and they shifts the energy, and there are certain reasons that why you should wear certain clothes, why you should eat certain food. So that is come traditionally, but the reasons are not expressed or explained. There is a book with all these details where you can know what the ancestors told, why they did certain thing, why they gave certain foods, why the body behaves in certain way it behaves. Everything has a reason, but the generations are, and now the life is so fast that mothers don't have time to sit with the daughter and talk about periods. So many things go just past that. Just do it. Don't touch. Don't go to temple. Why reasoning to understand the logic behind it? There's no time or effort put towards. That is a major mistake is what I feel happening.
Yeah, and I think you as an individual have taken that initiative of actually, creating Swachh Siddhiped. I would want to know more about that when we come to sustainable menstruation, and we will come to that in a bit. I would also like to get Sashi into the conversation right now. Sashi, what does SVP do?
For people who have not heard of SVP, we're just a network of like-minded people who want to give back some time and money to change makers like the ones on the screen to help them scale their impact. And that's our focus. And today, after 11 years, we are around 458 partners and growing every day across 7 cities: Bangalore, Hyderabad. We have worked, Stone Soup here has worked with us in Bangalore and Hyderabad as well. Kolkata, Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, and Ahmedabad. So this is
Wow.
where we are, and we're trying to open our next center soon in Chennai.
Super. So what I'm hearing from you is that you have had a very successful corporate career, and there are many others who are into the corporate scenario, and they have decided from an individual level to become a collective to help support good work which is happening in the society. Is that correct?
Yes.
Super,
And we
because
have
we all keep thinking that, when can we do, what can we do something good or not, the time is right. And here we already have a full-blown example of how a collective group of people of successful corporates have come together, and they are doing good.
And so far, we worked with around 110 plus NGOs. So that's given us a whole lot of immersive learning, which we can't get anywhere else.
Super, Sashi. But there is a pet peeve that I have, I had, a conversation with the CEO of a very large pharma company, and I expressed to him that I have, transitioned from using sanitary pads to a menstrual cup, and I figured how good it is for me and so convenient. I'll let you do the talking for that, but why is it that large companies shy away from supporting sustainable menstrual products? And since you probably come from a perspective that can give us both from on ground as well as from a corporate as well as from an investor perspective, why is it that, still when I go and gift these cups, I'm asked this question again and again: why is it that a large company is not endorsing it? Why is it that only because women who've used it become its brand ambassadors? But why aren't large companies putting their money behind this?
I guess it goes back to consumerism. You know, the economical model that all of the players on the screen have been talking to us about is to say that when you buy a pack of cloth pads, you can use it for 3 years, right? That's the buy. Then after for 3 years, you've lost that customer. Similarly, when you buy a cup, you can use it for an extensive period of time, which means you lost that customer for that extensive period of time. Given that the production that is required to meet the needs will be very, very small, and it doesn't make business sense for a manufacturer to get into it because there is only so many that they can sell as compared to a disposable pad which flies every day out of the window in terms of numbers. I guess that's where, or the tampons for that matter, I guess that's where there's nobody wanting to pick it up.
So I guess the stakeholders then benefit from complete silence on period talk. That's why they help coax everybody to only whisper and not talk about
Not only
it.
that, you see the money that's being spent on the ad where they talk about cloth pads being not good for health and promote disposable pads. And that's working against all of us who are working here for sustainable menstrual
Can
solutions,
you
right?
believe it? Can you believe it? That's really. Dr. Meenakshi, you wanted to add something.
So the industry is a 17,000 crore industry annually that makes disposable sanitary napkins. And if you will replace it with the menstrual cup, which most women from 20 to 50 will use, one per decade, then what will happen is that that industry will collapse. But it is similar. How did Kodak collapse when digital photography came in? It collapsed. We just moved on to a newer, and it has become everybody is taking photographs, millions of photographs. So what will happen is when this industry of disposable sanitary napkins collapses and we all start using menstrual cup, we will not only get better health for ourselves, women, but we will save the environment of a huge disaster, and we will also save money. So this transition has to happen. People have to realize, governments have to realize, governments are funding disposable pads. Why must they do that when they can save 90% of the money by giving a menstrual cup to a woman? Happier periods, more comfortable, healthier, and no trash. So, no cash, no rash, no trash.
Yes, Dr. Meenakshi, you brought up a very important and pertinent point. And since I think, Dr. Shanti has been working with the government or representatives of the government, and she's actually pulled off a very successful, sustainable menstrual hygiene model. I would want her to tell us a little bit about what the experience was.
Yeah, so I have been actually working with Siddipet since last 3 years because they have come to Bangalore, visited our Kalika Kendra. They were impressed and they told, "Can you help us, support us, do a sustainable waste management?" So I started 3 years back and was successful in a year and a half to achieve segregation and fixed up all the processing units for wet waste. Complete wet waste of Siddipet is going for processing. Complete dry waste is going for recycling. Now, next what? The 5% of disposable pads and diapers are a challenge. So that's when Stone Soup Trust came up saying that we have some good CSR funding where we can support a ward to do a pilot. So we took up one ward. I mean, the health minister being the local representative, he was very much open for this idea of sustainable menstruation. He just loved it. And till today, it is a very close to heart project for him. That is the reason it's flying just without any hurdles. And doing one ward as a pilot, we could reduce 90 kgs of sanitary pads generated per day to quickly to 15 kgs. So that drastic change in the waste and the feedback from the women who use. First time when I spoke in Siddipet in audience of 1,000, everyone put their heads down just listening to me. I have not asked them to come and talk. Me talking about periods on the stage embarrassed them to the core. They were just not ready to open their eyes and look at me. They were like, Minister is on the stage, MP is on the stage. Why is she talking about periods? Is it a subject that to be spoken on the stage? They were very feeling shy. Today, the women are coming up singing songs, writing, poetries about sustainable menstruation. Every day I get one feedback. Just today I got one message. We are going stepwise. Initially 10,000 frontline workers was the target of the health minister. The ashas, anganwadis, the rps, police women, panchayat secretaries, the whole district, they grounded with the frontline workers, and these frontline workers used it, and they are taking this now. 85 villages I have targeted and completed 20 villages, and the amazing response in the village that women are using and not feeling shy doing work. They go to fields and they work. They have beautiful short clippings, they make voice messages and send. Today morning I received a message saying, amma madam they call, so good using a cup. I feel like going into the prayer room and praying. I don't feel it's my period that I should not go to God and pray. I feel like going and praying. I don't feel anything. It's like any other normal day. The feedbacks are amazing. That keeps me up and running. I never feel tired. A week back, I came to Siddipet, and Sunday, Government of Telangana, first time out of Siddipet in Hyderabad, we are doing a session. The Commissioner of Health and Family Welfare wanted to see what is going on Siddipet. Let's ground little in Hyderabad. So on World Menstrual Hygiene Day, we are grounding little in Hyderabad.
Wow, that is one hell of a story. No, but after listening to what you have told me, I've realized one thing, that I think awareness and education also, to the policymakers, to the ones who are actually setting this, the whole framework of menstrual products being distributed, or sanitary pads being distributed. I guess it's just a lack of awareness, and you've managed to create this kind of a model which is perfect in the public private partnership kind of thing. What has been your
So
learnings?
one
What
thing
is
I
what
wanted
are
to
the
share
business
for the success of this story, we have called all the doctors of Siddipet under one roof. Dr. Meenakshi addressed them, and we cleared all their doubts and everything. They are the promoters. Even if we talk about menstrual cup, they will go to a second opinion to a doctor. Doctor, can I use this? Someone suggested this. So we targeted the doctors and ensured that all of them are transformed, and they are using. They are keeping in the clinics. In as a mode. Okay, what is this? Someone will ask. So we have not left any stone unturned. All the beauty parlors, because beauty parlors are the place where women spend a lot of time relaxed. So while doing facial, the lady is using a cup and she is talking about the cup. A woman is converted by the time her facial is finished. We did not leave anything unturned. Police women, everyone is so happy. I want this, to be loud and clear to the whole nation that Siddipet as a two-tier city can transform so much. 28,000 women have transformed till now.
Wow. Wow, super. Malini, I want you to join the conversation right now. Let's define sustainable menstruation to begin with. What is sustainable menstruation? You're muted, I think.
Sorry. Sorry, yeah. So sustainability is all about reusing, right? So what can we use for years and years? I'd been a tampon user for decades. When I first time heard about, actually I came to this space from the waste, right? So I saw the sanitary pads in the ducts blocking the drainage. I looked at and found a report that says one tampon can block a drainage. It can create 1 ton blockage in a drainage. So all these horror stories were there. And then I'd heard about cloth causing cancer. So I started looking for reports. I didn't find a single one. I'm still looking 10 years later, but I've not found a single report that links cloth to cancer. But I did find, to my horror, reports, scientific reports, which link sanitary pads, which link tampons, the chemicals in them, to allergic reactions, to endocrine disruptions, to also more serious diseases like dioxins and furans, which are linked to cancer. So this is harmful for women's body. This is harmful for environment, because when it goes into the environment, it lives for 500 to 800 years. Where all this trash go? What Indira Gandhi used could still be lying around here. Is this the legacy we women want to leave behind, right? Pad Everest. So when we started looking for options, we found great options both from West and East. So the West had menstrual cup, which was made in first time 1940, and East had cloth pads. Now cloth pads don't cause cancer and Alzheimer's, but we did see that they had few problems, which means that they would leak and you couldn't hold it in place. So if you're running, it was a problem. So those problems were being fixed by the modern sanitary pads like these. So they have a leak-proof layer and they have wings which can hold them in place. And the problem is solved. Now, cloth is something that can be used. It's sustainable. You use it for 3-4 years. It's good for women's health. It's good for environment. And of course, all these products are good for the pocket. And with what Dr. Shanti is doing, what Dr. Meenakshi is doing, what Chachi is supporting, they're all trying to also remove the shame. Like Shanti talked about, now there's no shame in talking about periods, right? From stage or otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. And also, when you show me this cloth pad, the reason why we're actually together here today also is because I came across a research on LinkedIn. And that research, the premise of that research was that there was another research done in the past wherein they said that girls at puberty would stop attending school because they don't have access to hygienic, feminine hygiene products, and they continue to use very archaic methods like cotton. Now, in a tropical country like ours, where temperatures soar up to 50 degrees Celsius, just the thought of reading something like this is like counterproductive. Like, how can cotton be bad? And what are these floating around?
All of us are wearing cotton, right? Right now.
And so, what are these researches which are floating around which claim that cotton is not right and only sanitary pad is or a tampon is a good this thing, and girls drop out at puberty because of lack of access to that? I know as a mother, my mother told me when Sarah, my daughter, was born, that जो पुराना मलमल का कपड़ा होता है ना, धुला हुआ बिल्कुल सॉफ्ट, क्योंकि बेबी की जो एस होती है वो बहुत सॉफ्ट होती है, तो उसके अंदर यू यूज ओनली सॉफ्ट मलमल कपड़ा, यू विल नॉट यूज एन ओल्ड कपड़ा ऐसे करके. So I think by that logic, I think even for a menstrual, management product, I think cotton would or an old sari is the best. Don't you think?
Perfect. So, dot on. So there is nothing wrong with old sari, your father's old dhoti, your old cotton dupattas. There are two things. One is that it moves, so that's why you'll see a lot of products, including we have ladli pad, which is like a folder. So you can use your old cotton cloth in it. What the folder provides you is a leak-proof layer and a place to attach it to the panty, to the buttons or the
But
wings.
to begin with, what are these researches? Who is claiming all of this stuff? And who is defining these
This
facts?
research actually, so there was an original report which was almost 12-15 years back released. The report was so buggy that it was actually withdrawn. Uh, but everyone is still talking about that research. That research talked about the girls dropping out of the school. If you look at it, girls do drop out of the age of around 12, 14, 15. But in the same Government of India statistics, if you look at it, more boys are dropping out. So can we blame it on their puberty that the voice breaks so the boys are dropping out of school? So these where are these research reports? But big decisions of giving every school-going girl a disposable sanitary pad has been taken on basis of this report, which has been withdrawn.
So
So
Dr.
that's the
Shanti
irony.
wants to make a comment. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have visited a lot of government schools, transforming them into sustainable menstruation of using the cloth. They are very happy with it. All that they need is a proper washroom for them to change the cloth and a pouch to carry that back home and awareness. Right now, in the name of distribution of free sanitary pads to the girls, there is not enough awareness to even teach them how to dispose properly. So a lot of girls use the same pad from today morning to tomorrow morning, which is 24 hours, and they're also burning it. So it's very, very unfortunate that the focus is more on connecting period poverty, and school dropouts to the periods. Instead, no government schools give importance to maintain hygienic washrooms, which is a basic necessity, whether it's for girls or boys. That is the main reason why girls feel dropout. They don't feel like going to the toilet or changing pads. That is the reason they might drop out. But as Malini said, boys also drop out, so this is not the reason. So enough of education and awareness to the girls of using. I worked with hostel school girls, where the hostel provided a wire, running in the hot sun so that they dry. They write their names, with the thread and thing, and each girl has a place to dry their cloth pads which are washed properly. So if these opportunities are provided for the girls, a proper set of cloth pads with a pouch and proper washrooms and education awareness more on sustainable hygiene, menstrual hygiene, that is more important, not distribution of pads left, right, center.
Yeah. I think Sashi wanted to make a point. Sashi?
You're talking about this report. I tend to believe that these are sponsored reports by people who are manufacturing disposable pads, right? So that you put it out there, bring the scare into educated people, and then they stick to the commercial products that are available and not go for anything else. I guess I would strongly think that it is a sponsored report. Yeah.
Imagine. I mean, at one point in time, they're saying don't talk about it, you whisper about it. At the other point in time, they're saying that, it's archaic. This report is such that women are using cloth, which is bad, which is counterintuitive and counterproductive to a country like India. I would imagine, and I would agree with you, that this has to be a vested interest to spew this kind of information and vilify all of the wisdom that this land holds, right? I would like to bring in Dr. Meenakshi at this point in time to tell us what can a sanitary pad do to a woman. After all, everybody has been using pads and sanitary pads for the longest time. How is it bad for the woman?
Meenakshi, you're mute.
The pad is made out of products which are not good for our health. So there is styrofoam in it, there is tire making material in it, there's rubber, and on top of it, this is bleached. And when it is bleached, there is chlorine in it, and that produces the dioxins and furans, which are the number one cancer producing agents. Now, if we have got, so no research is there, because research is funded by industry, and industry does not want to fund research that will kill the disposable sanitary napkin. So therefore, we are now looking at it wherein we are getting hyperthyroidism, we are getting allergic rashes to everybody ko aata hai. The rash on the thigh is something that all of us has suffered. And on top of it, there's hypothyroidism, there is infertility, which is coming in, difficulty to get pregnant, and then finally, there is cervical cancer, because these dioxins and furans, what do? They go and sit on the cervix, and the cervical tissue becomes more receptive to the viruses that will eventually produce cancer. So therefore, this is the problem with this. We need to take away all this and make it happen, and I'm sure it will really transform the way women will feel comfortable during their periods, will not have so many medical issues related to the uterus and the cervix. It will all happen if we will transform. So as we transform women to change to using the menstrual cup, and it's across. Women who are not educated actually take up to the cup much faster than women who are educated. Women who are educated think too hard.
Yeah.
Women otherwise will just accept it and use it without a fuss. When you don't have fear in your mind, you have no fear down to insert the cup.
No, no, I can say that I am the very first person who would have imagined or reacted to the cup as, you know, feeling yucky about touching my own body or inserting a cup within my own body and thinking that that is something, how can I do something like that? So I have inhibitions of my own body now, wherever that is stemming from, obviously. But tell me one thing, whenever I am conducting a session, and especially when I'm distributing menstrual cups, I try to focus specifically on sexually active women who are
Correct.
married in the marginalized sector, because I feel there is also another battle that needs to be fought, and I don't want to spread myself too thin fighting battles of, it can be breakage of hymen, which is related to virginity. So, what is your perspective on that, Dr. Meenakshi? Or, I mean, if you'd like to say, Dr. Shanti, you
Go
can.
ahead, Shanti.
Yeah. So it's a choice. Basically, in Siddipet project, we wanted to have a low hanging fruit first. So instead of fighting the battle of making people believe that hymen is just a tissue and do not make it a big issue out of it, instead of wasting efforts in convincing people and fighting that battle, we chose a battle, saying that okay, let us go for all the women who are sexually active first, so that it becomes easy. But then, as a mother, my daughter is 15 years old and she's successfully using, and she talks about it all over social media. So the hymen thing is still a myth, and it is choice of the battle. If it comes to our personal thing, we're recommending to friends or recommending to anyone, we would say it's just a tissue. Even for the girls who are active in sports, like Malini's daughter, and many girls who these days are very active in in sports, so their hymen would have ruptured already. So mothers who understand that it's just a tissue, it might have ruptured, it's nothing to relate it to virginity, they might make a choice to educate their daughters. And otherwise, if it's in a large community projects, I would definitely prefer to have the low hanging fruit and go it wide than deeper.
Yeah, and Dr. Meenakshi, yes, we bring you into the conversation. Using a menstrual cup, I have well educated women, from my friends, from school, etc., who would say that, we're scared that it may get lost inside. And how will, even if we force it inside, how will it come out? And it can cause infection if you're putting an external foreign body within our system. So, how do you say? What do you say?
So, first of all, this is made of medical grade silicon. The same thing, the same material that goes to making the stent for your heart. So, if it can be there there, it cannot make any difference. And putting it into the vagina, remember, this is a dead end. So, the cup cannot go from here, go through the uterus, and come out of your mouth. It cannot. So if they understand that, then they'll be happy. When you get tense, then this tissue here, the muscle here, which is tiny, will get tight, and then nothing will go inside. So it's like this, and I'm trying to push something in. If I'm relaxed, it'll go inside without any problem. So people need to understand that, and once they are agreed with that, they will be okay. Again, the hymen is a myth. The hymen has a hole in it. If you don't have a hole in it, the child will not get periods. If you're getting periods, that means that your hymen is already not ruptured. It doesn't rupture. It doesn't go like a balloon, bang. So the hymen already has a hole in it, and that hole becomes a little larger. That's all that happens. So therefore, we have to stop this myth about the hymen rupturing. I would imagine that on the first day after my marriage, my hymen went patak like that. Nahi hota hai.
But I think, yeah, so in a sense, there are various battles to be won. and for me, I feel I choose maybe a sustainable menstruation, and like recently we did an outreach program for the for girls who are hearing impaired, and I want to share a very interesting anecdote with them. Of course, from Stone Soup, we got largely kits that we distributed to them, and I was so pleasantly surprised. We had an Indian sign language interpreter. I was so pleasantly surprised to see that all the girls were so full of questions, and they wanted to interact and talk about menstruation and periods, and they all come from marginalized sectors, and most of them were congenitally, they couldn't hear. So it almost made me feel that all of this nonsense that we carry in our mind is actually environmentally maybe conditioned for us to, talk about periods as shame or not talk about it and things like that. Whereas these girls who couldn't hear may have been cocooned from all of this conditioning, and they were so open in conversing about menstruation and talking about periods. So that was a very, very interesting experience that I had. And I stick with girls, young girls. I stick with cotton cloth pads, and that's what I intend to do. Earlier it was only menstrual cups, but I think even cotton pads. So I guess it's time for us to wrap up, but I definitely would want a last word from all of you. Malini, let's start with you.
So yeah, to everyone out there, choose rash-free, trash-free, cash-free, and shame-free periods.
Super. Sashi? We can't hear you, Sashi.
For all the hard work that all these change makers do in this area of work, I think we need more people coming in to support them in the initial period where creating awareness is very, very, very important. You all have experienced it. I shouldn't be preaching, but to the audience who are there, who are willing to fund such projects, I think they should look at it as a very important area. The more we provide in terms of awareness and support these change makers, I think it'll become a movement eventually, and we will go back to where our ancestors started, which is to cotton pads or cups. So I'm hoping that there'll be more funders who will come forward and support these change makers to reach larger numbers.
Dr. Meenakshi?
I think you should gift a cup for every occasion, whether it's Diwali, whether it's Dasra, whether it's a wedding, whether it's a birthday. Gift a cup to that girl, and then she will use it for the next 10 years, and then she will herself gift it to everybody else. So that's the way to go forward.
It's
Save.
interesting. It's interesting. I gifted a cup right now to a young girl, and her father had no clue about what it is, and he was kind of, looking at it, and he took it out, and he says, "Is this a peg measure of 30 ml and 60 ml?"
Absolutely. It is. It is. I always carry a peg measure. And after that, when I say that all you bleed is but a peg, I think after that, whoever is the man who has heard it will always have it at the back of the mind when he pours himself a bit of liquor when it's a peg measure.
Dr. Shanti.
Yeah, so I always believe that if you have an idea, you keep thinking about your body, mind, everything aligned to that, and every minute you'll be thinking how to achieve it. Right now my goal is, in the coming 2 years, if I come across any woman in Siddipet, either she is menopaused or hysterectomy done or she's a cup user. That is a dream I am looking at, and I'm working towards that with heart and soul.
Super. And, kind of supplementing with what, yes, Malini, you want to say something?
So what Shanti has done in Siddipet, we're trying to replicate it in more places. So we've done it in Mysore in a Gram Panchayat, where we've got already more than 70% women and girls converted. We're doing in Kanamangala, which is on outskirts of Bangalore. So 500 women are going to get menstrual cups. We're trying to do it in Rajasthan. So I think we need to just create these islands, and someday they'll all connect.
Yeah, super. So, supplementing to what Sashi had also said, that we also need the larger society, maybe philanthropists, maybe corporates investing their CSR funds, or whoever it is, to these very passionate women who are, taking on very large companies, so to speak, and the kind of dollar that they are backed with. And here it's literally at the grassroots trying to create awareness and change mindsets, etc. And also, one more thing, there is a lot of products which are available in the market. You should do your own study, and you should figure out that if you have taken that step of changing over to a sustainable menstrual product, then you should invest in the best that is available. You should not try to minge on some amount of money, and then you buy a plastic product, because which will lose its shape, and then even though you would have changed your mindset, but you would be disappointed because within a couple of usages it may leak, etc. And also the very fact that we have a platform that I curate called Sabera, that is acknowledging people, women like that we have interacted with today, and men and young children and promising leaders, and also large PSU Maharatna companies and large corporates who are doing good for the society, and bringing them on a platform, acknowledging them, and thanking them for putting India on the road to development. So if you know of anyone who's doing good work, irrespective of whether it's a grassroots level organization or if you represent a very large company, we would like to present your work to a very esteemed panel of judges who will evaluate it, and we will then acknowledge on a public platform. The intent behind is to catalyze the sustainable development change that is happening in our country by showcasing if something can be done in, say, for example, Siddipet, it can definitely be done in any other part of the country or of the world. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi, Dr. Shanti, Sashi, and Malini, for taking out time to being with us. And I hope to stay connected with all of you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Suparna, for a wonderful discussion.
Very